Here now to discuss it is Republican Senator from Alabama, Richard Shelby. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. There's kind of nobody, I feel like, is happy with Judge Kavanaugh on the issue of health care. On the one side, you have the sound that you just heard and folks saying, that this is going to be the death of millions coming with this judge. Do you think, first to that side, you think that's the case?
Oh, no, absolutely not. That's the Democrats hollering around, probably making up a lot of issues that don't even exist. I think the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh by the president was an excellent choice. I look forward to meeting with him and discussing things as he makes the rounds here in the Senate. But that is an important appointment. One of the most important things that we will do this Congress is vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. I believe he'll be confirmed. It will not be without a battle because people are divided in this country. But a viable, conservative, common sense Supreme Court is important to the welfare of all the people of this country.
There are other people that criticize him from the other side on health care. And the fact is, when he was writing his decisions, he refused to say that Obamacare was unconstitutional. What do you think of that?
Well, I had my problems with it. I voted against Obamacare. I voted to repeal it many times, and I would continue to vote to repeal it. I think that's the Democrats hollering, wanting big government, trying to couch it in different ways, trying to scare the American people. We ought to look at the qualifications of this man, which are great, and his record, which I believe is an excellent record, and vote on him.
One of the very big stories of the day, Senator, we are talking about the president heading off to Russia. You just returned from a trip to Russia as part of the delegation that was hoping to break the ice ahead of the president's upcoming meeting with Vladimir Putin. What did you learn on that trip?
Well, I basically learned that the Russians probably haven't changed any at all. We knew that before they came, but, we try to open up a dialogue with them because that's a lot better than being a total adversary, especially with nuclear powers as we are. My advice to the president, if he needed any, and he probably doesn't need any, would be prepared and be careful with Putin. Putin's smart. He's ruthless. He comes out of the KGB. I met with him one time here in the Capitol a number of years back, and he's going to want a lot, and he's not going to give anything. So,
what would you want him to give? What would you advise the president to ask for? What does he need to get?
Well, I'd like to see him make some resolution, get the Russians out of Syria. I'd like to see some kind of resolution, a positive resolution to the invasion of Ukraine. We can go on and on. We have a lot of grievances with the Russians. And I said when we came out of Moscow, the Russians need to earn our trust. That's going to be a big ticket item. It might not ever happen. But my meeting in Helsinki Monday, I wish the president well. I hope that we have a positive meeting. I hope it's substance rather than just optics.
Yeah. Do you think he should ask about meddling in the election?
Oh, absolutely. That's what we talked about, among other things. I appreciate you bringing that up. In America. Of course, they're in denial there. Putin will deny it. But obviously, we believe it went on. They tried to meddle, probably did to some extent. We don't like that. They should stay out of our domestic politics and domestic policies.
You voted today in favor of a motion to challenge President Trump over his trade policy. Your state is going to be specifically hard hit. In fact, the Chamber of Commerce says that $3.6 billion in exports from Alabama alone could be threatened by the tariffs. What's your message to him on that?
Well, my message to the president would be that tariffs generally don't work. We impose a tariff. Chinese impose a tariff. The Germans impose a tariff. Tit for tat. I would go back and look at all of our trade agreements. They ought to have a sunset provision in them and see where they're working and where they're not, because we're being eaten alive by the Chinese in trade and in some areas by some of our friends in Europe.
Yeah. What did you think of his chatter in NATO today? He was castigating a lot of who are our allies, basically saying that Germany in particular is getting a lot of money to Russia by virtue of that pipeline deal, and that doesn't really match up against, the rest of NATO calling for tough talk against Russia. What did you think of that?
Well, I think the president's spot on. He's spot on about the pipeline. Russia will be selling more and more gas and oil to Western Europe, and they will be dependent on Russia. And secondly, the other thing that he raised and should have is that the Western Europe, NATO allies, don't pay their fair share of defense. And a lot of those countries are a lot richer than we are, such as Germany.
Senator Shelby, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
your
ma'am.
time.
And on a